thin air. And then, of course, that money goes out into the system, increases the money supply, and ultimately the result will either be another asset bubble of biblical proportions or massive price inflation, or a combination of the two.
Wow, man. Keens and Luddites would be proud.
That is, the only thing that's stopping that from happening now, Gard, and we've talked about this before, is the fact that at this point the banks are holding on to a lot of that money.
Yeah.
The magic money multiplier of fractional reserve banking hasn't taken place yet because the banks are still on shaky ground.
Right.
So that's actually been beneficial.
Right.
And once the banks start lending again, that's how the money gets in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And when it happens, it will do so at a ratio of every dollar that the bank holds, they will be able to issue $10 in loans. So if the Fed has printed out $1 trillion, that could result in an increase in the money supply of $10 trillion.
Oh, my God.
Astronomical. And the problem with countries dropping the dollar as the reserve currency, like Russia's done, the reserve currency is the currency which countries settle their accounts in.
Yeah.
Okay? And if they have no need to hold dollars anymore, if they're not settling their accounts in dollars, all those dollars could conceivably come back into the U.S., which would increase our money supply even further because there are more dollars held outside of this country in reserve at central banks around the world than there are dollars inside the country.
Wow.
And the worse that the weaker the dollar becomes, the less attractive it is as a reserve currency.
Well, Glenn, I think this is an appropriate time for us to take a break. We're going to hear from one of our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll talk more with Glenn Jacobs. Remember the website, Adventures of Citizen X. His stack of stuff is on fire. He is the god of hellfire. And we'll be back with more Glenn Jacobs coming up after this at Liberty Conspiracy.
I'm Jen Rather. Tonight on 60 Minutes 3.5, the Gulag. New startling revelations reveal new, startling, and revealing new information, indicating that the supposed concentration, slave labor, and death camps in Siberia weren't that at all. In a new, startling document written by startling Alexander Solzhenitsyn in startling New Times Roman font and signed by Lenin, Stalin, Khrushchev, Brezhnev, and Prokofiev, these new documents indicate that the Gulag was really a northern vacation spot, populated by Republican Party functionaries and former Playboy playmates recovering from ecstasy addiction. That's tonight on 60 Minutes 3.9.
New from the people who brought you the Bernie Streeter Driving School comes the newest in auto instruction, the Ted Kennedy Driving Academy.
Just take that bridge up ahead.
Yes, the politician who's helped steer a course leftward in this nation for 40 years will teach you all you need to know behind the wheel.
Now, hurry up. The packy store's about to close there.
It's cheap, it's new, and it's all legal.
Now, turn right there.
Mr. Kennedy, that will put us into the bay. I can't swim.
Here, I'll make the turn. And by the way, swimming lessons are they're not included. Good luck.
The Ted Kennedy Driving School, where you can make a real splash on the roadways.
Like
As promised, hey, we're not the government. We fulfill our promises. Forget Social Security. We come through for you, baby. It's we're coming back at libertyconspiracy.com. I hope you go to the website. It is libertyconspiracy.com. Thanks to Al Gore. Oh, what a guy. And also, I hope you'll go to adventuresofcitizenx.com and check out some of the really, really good writing there by Glenn Jacobs. And he has very, very good audios that he's produced as well. And I'm very grateful that Glenn talks to us in these opportunities. The man's schedule is very busy, and he utilizes his time very well. Glenn, your stack of stuff is smoldering there, my friend, and we've got lots to discuss. Let's get into anything else that you want to discuss, any other topics you want to hit, my friend.
Let's start with civil liberties. Civil liberties for 1,000, Trebek.
well, and the answer is, what are those?
Exactly.
Hold on, I just have to mention one thing. The best Saturday Night Live skit of those Jeopardy things was when they had the Sean Connery impersonator guy.
Yes.
He's been ragging on Trebek over and over in skit after skit, and finally he says, "Trebek, it's a very nice suit you're wearing, Trebek." And Trebek's like shocked, like, "Oh, really? Well, thank you, Mr. Connery. That's very nice. Just one question. Yes, does it come in a men's?" Oh man. Okay, sir. Go ahead, Trebek. Go ahead.
4 people were arrested today in a homegrown terrorist plot, and I think this has ominous implications for those of us in the freedom movement, because there seems to be a hysteria now about homegrown terrorism. All of these cases that we're hearing about homegrown terrorism, which go back a few years, they share something in common, and that is that FBI informants and insiders direct the individuals, the people that are alleged to carry out these attacks, and the same thing has happened here. I'm going to skip through part of the article and get down to what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Well, let me set it up first. The 4 men were ex-convicts who envisioned themselves as holy warriors, ambitious enough to concoct a plot to blow up synagogues and military planes, authorities said. But they were amateurs every step of the way. They had trouble finding guns and bought cameras at Walmart to photograph their targets. One was a convicted purse snatcher. Another smoked marijuana the day the plot was to be carried out. Now I'm going to skip ahead. Mm-hmm. Relatives said the defendants were down on their luck men who worked at places like Walmart, a landscaping company, and a warehouse when they weren't behind bars. Payens, who was one of the defendants, Payens' lawyer said that he was intellectually challenged and on medication for schizophrenia. Marilyn Reeder, I'm not sure who that is, but anyway, Marilyn Reeder said he has a very low IQ, or he has a very low borderline IQ. And then at the very end of the article, it says, some have criticized informants' roles in such cases, saying they egged on and ensnared suspects who weren't dangerous.
Wow.
And then it talks about the plots that they're talking about here, the homegrown terrorist plots include the Virginia Jihad Network, a group of men accused in 2003 that trained with paintball games in Los Angeles. 4 men, including the founder of a radical Islamic prison group, were charged in 2005 with conspiring to blow up or to attack synagogues and other targets. And 7 men in Miami were accused of planning to blow up the Sears Tower. 2 of these were later acquitted, and also the 7 men in Miami, I believe a number of them also had mental problems.
This is very strange. So it doesn't. It's. And I know that also, I think it was in the Chicago case, that was another one where they did not seem to have, and I don't want to speak erroneously here, but they did not seem to have come up with the idea on their own. It was planted for them.
Right, and that's the problem with these informants, is you don't know where the genius behind the plan is. You don't know who concocts the plan, and don't know if there really is entrapment, or if these really are dangerous people, or if there's a conspiracy, or in the Miami case, especially the one to blow up the Sears Tower, from the evidence that I read, and like you, Gard, I mean, I may be erroneous in this, but from what I read, those guys were pretty much directed on what to do.
That's right.
Had absolutely no idea of how to blow up the Sears Tower, nor any inclination until the informant brought it up.
I think you're absolutely right about this. Now we need to be very careful as we discuss this. We need to separate the people who are in the freedom movement from people who would be willing to sign up for violence against other people. The people in the freedom movement who believe in freedom, who believe in individual liberty, or the constitutionalist movement, sometimes they're one and the same. Oftentimes they're one and the same. Those people are not violent people. They want to adhere to recognizing the rights of their neighbors and at least get back to a constitutional way of operation for the federal government. For these people, this sort of an act is a completely alien sort of thing. But I think this is alarming because the federal government is taking steps now to recruit people in order to arrest people.
Yes. Yeah.
Very strange. This is odd stuff. And also, as an aside, we should mention the synagogue thing. Now, again, we have to be very careful here. But there is an underlying theme here that seems to ring with people, and this is constantly debated, about America's involvement in the Middle East and this sort of thing. But, clearly there is a problem with American foreign policy, and it